Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petralis, and we are super excited for today's guest. I first came about this guest. I think, reading the paper online, and there was an article about him and what had happened, and we'll talk a lot about that today. But was a standout football player at St. John's Prep, was a three-sport athlete, 3.5 GPA, won a couple Super Bowls as a football player over there, all conference honors. So someone who definitely on the athletic playing field as well in the classroom just shined and really just kind of dominated sports that he participated in and had a lot of choices for college and had a few things that happened. So just a really interesting story, a really nice kid, and interested to really learn more about him today. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, football player now at Union College, Matthew Mitchell.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
go
Appreciate
ahead.
our intro. Yeah,
Not a bad intro, right? Not a bad intro.
that was pretty good.
Okay, I get a lot of compliments for my intros, but I think it's important. I think we got to pump you up a little bit. There's a lot to
Yeah,
talk about
for
here,
sure.
and I'm excited. I think we have our audiences. We range from like 18 to 44 is like it is like even across the board, a third, a third, a third. So we do have a
Yeah.
lot of young kids that listen that I think your story will be really interesting today. So one thing that I kind of want to start out, I mentioned that you went to St. John's Prep, which is in Danvers, and you're a Medford kid. I know you're from Medford. Do you live in Medford when you were going to St. John's Prep?
Yeah, I did. I did live in Medford.
Now, where
Um,
did you go to school, like elementary and middle school wise?
so middle school was I was at Prospect Hill in
Okay.
Somerville. So and then
Okay.
after that, they just started the prep. They just started the sixth grade. My brother he was a wrestler and a baseball player at St. John's. So my mom was like, "You got to go too." So I was the first sixth grade class over at St. John's.
Oh, wow. So you were there for like a while. That's more than usual. So what was your wake up time to get to school? Because that's not an easy commute either.
So they had a bus that picked us up right at Medford City Hall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we were actually the first stop. What was it? Like I had to be there at like 6:30. So I was up at like 5:50.
Yeah. Yeah, you were getting like the every last minute you could before you knew you had to get up and not miss
Mm-hmm.
the bus. Yeah, I get it.
And
Um,
we were the last stop home too. So I didn't get home till about 6:30.
So that's something they work out with the school, that the school will literally come down and get you and bring you up to school. I mean, that's
Yeah, they got buses that go everywhere. So
they got a lot of money, I guess.
Mhm.
um, so obviously you made a choice to go over there and you were a standout. I mentioned three-sport athlete. I kind of want to focus a little bit on football just because, I think the big story is there. But you arguably, I mean, I shouldn't even say arguably, you play in the toughest high school football conference there is in the state. I mean, every single one of those schools are very good every year that you're playing. You know that when it comes down to those D1 or D2 Super Bowls, there's teams from your conference in it. You were able to win two Super Bowls. I watched your huddle film. Uh, Pretty good, pretty good. So just talk about your time there, winning a couple Super Bowls, just how you maybe developed as a person, as well as a football player being in that program.
Yeah, for sure. I owe a lot to St. John's, I'd say. At first I really didn't think I wanted to be a football player. I had my heart, I had my heart set on baseball. I thought I was gonna play D1 baseball, go to the big leagues and all that. Um, but yeah, freshman year, actually I started playing football. My first year was football was in the middle school. So I was coming up through that system. Freshman year, they actually pulled me up on varsity. Um, I was just playing DB, played in the JV games, traveled to the varsity games. We won a Super Bowl that year. That was a good little experience. I saw what happened. I already been through the grind. And the next year, sophomore year, did it again. This time I got to see the field. Then junior year was COVID. And then senior year, I mean, it didn't turn out like how we wanted, but I was glad to have got through that season, especially with my diagnosis at the end of senior year. God is good though. So, but
Yeah.
like I said, I owe a lot to St. John's. Growing up in that program, like you said, you playing the best teams, like you know what you sign up for. Um, so competition was never something that I was afraid of, and I don't think anybody at St. John's or any of the schools that we play are afraid of competition. So
I love that. I do. And so as a defensive back, obviously to me it's a mentality, right? Like you're what are you like 5'9", 5'10"?
yeah, I'm like 5'8",
Okay, okay. So
maybe 5.
obviously is your I was defensive back coach for a really long time. So like I could talk defensive backs on a whole episode, but it's a mentality, especially man to man. Everybody likes to play. Was there a receiver that you went against in your time there that was just like you wanted that matchup? It was a big matchup. They might have been a real good receiver that you were just like, hey, I can't wait for this matchup. And if so, what was the result or just the experience?
Mm, in terms of on my team, um, I there was always a head to head battle with Jesse O'Fury. I was always calling him out. He was a big dude, and I wanted him. He was the little kid, but he was the big dude, so I wanted him. Um, but on other teams, I don't know. I wanted everybody. I wanted all the good. Um, I guess some of the big games, definitely Preston's Inter. He was just like we played them twice a year every year. So I guess he he was somebody that I was gonna face. Um, the CM receivers, like I
Like
just
anybody, yeah, like, okay,
yeah,
like, I get it.
everybody,
And I think that that's it's interesting because that's competition. I mean, you're going against you're seeing out of, um, seeing out of your conference. I mean, that's where kids are all going D1 and playing some serious college football and, at all different positions. So, yeah, like you said, going against anybody, obviously CM over the last few years has transformed, new head coach, and that program kind of picks up right from where Everett left off, I guess, in a sense. So totally understand that. Now, you mentioned in when you were talking, you kind of talked about at the end of your senior year, your diagnosis, and what you were referring to is cancer. You had a I watched like the special interview, the interview that you had on Channel 4. It was pretty like emotional, and I know you got emotional at times, but and if I make a mistake here, just correct me. But they originally thought it was like a cyst on your face, if I'm not mistaken, and then eventually realized that it was cancer. And I know you had like a radiation mask and everything else. And so I guess my first question to you is obviously what were your feelings when you got that diagnosis? Like you heard that this is what you had, and obviously you were ready to play at that next level and play college football, and this is a road bump for you. So I'm sure emotionally it was a really tough thing that happened for you. So I just want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about it.
yeah. When I first heard about it, or when I first found out, my dad told me, and I just like he didn't even use the words cancer or lymphoma, nothing like that. He was just like, we're gonna take a different approach to this cyst on your face, and I was like trying to get it out of him. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And then eventually, they told me, but at first it's just like, you know, okay, what does this mean? That was like my first thought, like, okay, what does this mean? Like, what is the next couple of months of my life gonna look like? Am I gonna be able to go to school? The answer to that was obviously no, but um, you just try to at first, like it's just you try to um just grasp it, honestly, just
Yeah, like like
try to
just
just accept it.
right.
It's like nothing you could do at that point. You just like it's still a lot of questions that I had for myself, you know. It's like what's the next steps? Like how many times am I gonna be in and out of the hospital? Like, what do I have to do? Like, am I gonna lose my hair?
Yeah.
And how am I gonna feel? Like, how will this affect me playing football? Um, all that. But, you know, at the end of the day, put it in God's hands. So hopefully he was gonna make a way.
Now you mentioned like treatment and everything else. So what did treatment look like for you? Like how often were you having it, the intensity of it? And you mentioned those questions that you had. You know, I mean, I guess how you feel too. I know that you can get real sick from, treatment sometimes too. So just wanted to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the the treatment wasn't really like the worst process for me. What the worst part of the process was mostly just finding out like what's in my face. Um, they had taken a couple samples and they were like, we still don't have enough. We still don't know fully like what type of cancer this is. We know that it's some type of lymphoma, but we're not sure like what type it is. And so we did procedure after procedure. Then we finally got the surgery. And then, but I was in and out of the hospital the whole summer, just like maybe 2 to 4 times a week, just meeting with doctors, taking blood, um, checking in, stuff like that. After that, it was really just like, okay, how do we proceed from here? And they were like, all right, we're gonna do this treatment, did the treatment, and I'm back in school in January. So
It's amazing, because obviously I think at those times is that mental aspect of it, right? Like you obviously taking that news and getting that news and trying to grasp it and understand it and own it and realize that this is, the next step in my life that I wasn't expecting. But you obviously wanting to pursue a college football career and being able to get there and going through treatment and being able to do so and enrolling in school. And I know you're at Union now. I guess for you, like, how did the recruiting process then work? Like, obviously, this happened after football. Was Union a school that you were committed to before your diagnosis, or was it a school that maybe just like stuck around when everything kind of happened? I mean, talk about the decision that you did decide to go to Union, why you made that.
mm, so my decision to go to Union, I actually committed before my diagnosis. Committed in like February.
Okay.
I had a couple of schools on my radar. I was looking at like Union, Colby, Stonehill, um, and you know, I visited every school. I liked them all. Um, I just came here and Union felt like home, just felt like, the place I wanted to be. It also has, a lot of stuff for my major. I'm an economics major and
Okay.
I'm here for the connections as well. Um, Building connections is what I did at St. John's and,
Yeah.
what I plan to do here. So, um, but like I said, they welcome me. It's been like family. There's actually a couple of kids who are on my St. John's team who graduated with me that are here too.
Oh wow. Okay.
I made it a little easier to make my decision, but I'm
That's
glad.
great.
Yeah.
And so you're there now, and I mean, talk about just getting back into it. I know obviously you're there. Spring ball hasn't started yet, but obviously you're probably having some classroom stuff or some, playbook stuff. And so talk about just you getting back into the swing of things. You had a huge battle and battled cancer, and here you are now at the other end. You pursued your dream. I mean, that's great that, you committed to Union and they stuck with you, during that whole process too, which is great. I think that speaks a lot about them as a program as well. So, hats off to them for that. Um, but for you, obviously facing this next journey, I mean, talk about just you getting mentally back into football a little bit now that you've overcome what you have.
Yeah. So at first, all your friends, like I graduated, all your friends are at school during the fall. So I guess like the only thing on my mind was just like, how can I stay busy? Like, what can I do? You know? So I ended up picking up a job that fall. I also got my license in um, insurance and producing, and I'm working as a financial consultant now. Um,
That's great.
yeah, so it was really just like, how do I keep busy? Just like keep my mind in the books, make sure I'm just not sitting around, doing nothing. So I was trying to just work out, work, make a little bit of money when I could, keep my head in the books. Um, Make sure your mind never just like slips off because it's just so easy to be like, why am I here? Like, why
Right.
happened to me? Um, so it was just really keeping myself busy, staying positive.
That's unreal. I mean, just hearing, doing a lot of reading and doing a lot of writing or, doing things that are your hobby. I mean, economics you mentioned, is that like what do you know what you kind of want to pursue in that realm, or are you kind of just wide open right now to just kind of seeing where it takes you?
Yeah, I'm just, seeing where it takes me. Like I said, I'm doing this. I'm working as a financial consultant right now. Honestly, trying to learn how to build an agency, build a business. Um, but you know, just like try to better yourself. Just trying to be the best, at everything that I get into. You know, just bring that competitive aspect that you have in athletics to everything, whether it's in the classroom, whether that's on your job. So I really believe in that.
That's great. I mean, and obviously that's kind of a mentality of your position. I mean, let's face it, a lot of teams now when they go against spread, there's a lot of man being played across the board. So there is a competitive aspect to your position. For you as a coverage guy, you're 5'8" guy. I mean, what's your preference coverage? Like if you got to sit in a coverage all game long, would it be playing man, playing zero, one-on-one, or were you more
Yeah.
like a cover two guy jamming on the line? I mean, where are you kind of at as far as preferred coverage?
Nah, you can ask everybody. I press. I press. Unless coach says otherwise, I press. Um, yeah. But like you said, being a DB definitely helped, Every once in a while, the guy's gonna catch the ball. Yeah, you gotta come back the next play. Every once in a while in life, life's gonna tear you down, but at some point you gotta get back up, you know?
Yeah. That's great. And when you press on the line, are you like head up, you play inside shoulder? I mean, talk about your pressing technique. I'm just interested. I'm a D back guy, so I love playing. If it's up to me, we'd be sending the house and playing zero. Like that's just how we
Yeah.
play if we have it.
Oof, you got good questions, man. Nah, yeah, I'm inside leverage for sure. I do it just like the prep teaches. Inside leverage, splitting the guy,
Wow.
boom,
Yeah.
offhand jam, and then eyes straight at his hips. So
Do you talk? Are you a talker?
sometimes
Yeah.
depends on the game. It depends on the game.
Is there a
Um,
line you go to like when you like bat a ball down
during
the other
practice,
play?
I'm a big talker during practice. I do not like receivers during practice. Yeah.
I mean, but that's a mentality
Some
of the
weeks, yeah.
position, right?
Some games though, some games, yeah, coach was, he was like, calm down, calm down. But some games I am really good. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you just feel it. I mean, sometimes you know when you can like yap a little
Mm,
bit and it kind of
right.
brings in that competitive side too. So I get it. I totally get it. Um, so is defensively, as you're kind of seeing the playbook that you're in now, stylistically, do you feel like you're a good fit for what you're seeing Union defensively? Or what do you guys look like as far as defensive front goes?
Yeah, I think we play a little different up here. Talking to the guys, we play it a little more cover three, cover four. Um, but like I said, I'm here to play football.
Yeah.
No matter what we're playing, I still got a job to do. I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. So
Now, I mean, cover four is so interesting because so many times cover four could be essentially man to man if there's like verticals going down the field, but I felt like at the high school level, anyways, playing like a tight cover four sometimes throw teams off, whether you're in man or playing like a zone, and so it's interesting to hear that at the collegiate level that a lot more teams are playing cover four. Defensively, so that's real cool. Uh, for you, like obviously getting mentally into a game, locker room, pregame, obviously there might be rituals. So I'll ask you this question in two parts because I'm interested. Part one is what are your pregame rituals? How early you getting there? Do you have a certain thing? And two, who are you listening to on the headphones? What's your go-to song that you're getting out there and getting a little juiced up to?
Okay, a good question. I haven't done this in a while, but I'd say pregame rituals at the prep was definitely was just I go to Dunkin' before every game, get big egg and cheese on a croissant. Um, those were for the Saturday games. For the Friday games, I would always get me like one of those sandwiches from there was like this little shop in the I don't know if you've ever been in the wellness center, but there's a little shop that used to sell these sandwiches. Sometimes they be good. Yeah.
I've been there a few times. No, I've only been like above the gym. Like I think we were overseeing like a gym or a pool or something, but like it was for like football actually. It was for like who was playing each other in the non-qualifier. So I've only
Mhm.
seen a little bit, but it's like a college complex. I mean, it's unreal.
Yeah. You got a little setup over there. A little setup.
And what song? What's a song or a big song or an artist that you're kind of bumping maybe before a game that's getting you a little juiced up?
Ooh, artist.
You could throw out a few. I mean, there's a few that you listen to. It's
Um,
fine.
okay. So this like two. So the first person I listen to probably is No Cap for sure. Um, but for any of you gospel listeners, some Hezekiah Walker for the game really get me going.
Wow, that's
And
so interesting. That's so
that's what I play
interesting.
in the car. That's what I play in the car. That's what I
Okay.
so
That's great. I mean, there's always different mentalities out there, and some song is just it's soothing, or some songs that it's just hit you a little differently than maybe it does other people. So I love that question because there's always a different answer.
mhm. Yeah,
Uh
sure.
you obviously talked about being a pretty physical corner and playing on the line and jamming. Is there like an NFL corner right now that you kind of would say the game you like to emulate, or someone that you really enjoy watching, or thinks that is a real good corner?
There's a lot. Um, I definitely say my favorite player is definitely Jalen Ramsey. Like, it's just nobody doing what he's doing. Um, and he talked that talk, but he can definitely back his game up. So that's somebody who's swag. Like, I really just like want to emulate.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like there's just so many corners in the league now that are starting to emerge. And I mean, truthfully, as much as you say spread offenses are being ran at all three levels, I mean, defensively, you're also learning how to go against spread offenses and all different types of coverages and schemes and so on. So you're developing too as a defensive back of what you're going to see, different route combinations, what coverage you're playing. So, you are starting to see a lot more corners emerge, big physical corners or small corners that can play really good inside leverage, like because they're also seeing it forever too. Like they're seeing every route and how it's ran and how guys get off the line. And so you are seeing these corners that like a Jalen Ramsey and others over the years that just like can shut number ones down across the board.
Yeah, for sure.
Um Now I'll ask you this because obviously this is like, kind of connecting with what you talked about earlier. I mean, mentally, for you, like here we are right now having this conversation about everything that you have gone through. I mean, think about where you were and where you are now. Maybe talk about, because I know in football, mental toughness is something that is the hardest thing for a coach to coach, because as much as you try to coach it, sometimes mental toughness, you either have it or you don't. And what you've gone through and where you are now, I think, is the example of mental toughness. So, talk about maybe what you have learned about yourself over the last year plus of what you've gone through and where you are now.
Yeah, for sure. I really thank God for everything that He's just done for me and put me through in my life. I definitely feel like He has over prepared me for this moment. Like you talk about mental toughness. Like I'm a wrestler. I my when if you've been to my wrestling events, you hear my dad like
Yeah.
like like discipline, all that, just like playing 3 sports all year round, just like having to keep your grades up. It just, it all just at the end of the day, it all just comes together, you know. At some point you're gonna look up and be like, wow, like during wrestling season, it was not fun sometimes, when you're not eating and you're like, you gotta go out there and then you gotta wrestle some sweaty dude.
And
But like,
cutting weight, I mean, cutting weight's a
yeah,
mentality. I mean, it's a mentality of what you can and can't put into your body a day or two before your event. It's a whole different mentality.
right. In my senior year, I like that's when I first started to feel the effects of like the cancer was like during my wrestling season. Like that's when I had like the big bubble on my face. I mean, I was losing a lot of weight, but I thought it was normal. But I just like you look back and you're like, you know what? I went through that. I'm glad I'm done, but I'm glad I did it, And
Yeah.
it really does make you a better person, as well as strengthen your mind, I believe. So
Oh, I think that's great. I mean, you talk about you kept yourself busy and you kept your mind busy when you were going through treatments and obviously taking in that news that you received about what was going on with you. So, the mind's like a motor. I mean, the more the motor's running, the more it's working, the more it's fine. Shutting it down and mentally can be really difficult. So, it seems like you are the epitome of mental toughness. What would be your advice to young high school athletes out there when it comes to facing adversity? Whether it's a bad injury or something that you've gone through or anything else. I mean, what's your advice to young high school athletes as far as, taking that on?
man, I really just say, when you see a challenge in life, don't be like afraid. Like if there's a challenge in life, like learn to accept it and learn how to become a better person because of because of what you're going through. Like make the most out of your situation. And honestly, that's honestly what kept my head above water, kept my mind positive, was just, trying to keep myself busy, how I can better myself in my time of despair.
Yeah. I mean, and it's understanding too that, like, yeah, I mean, kind of even going back to what we said before, it is a mental toughness and being able to just understand that what you have to overcome to achieve or get what it is that you're trying to achieve. And to see what you've gone through. I mean, I watched a little the clip that was from Channel 4 and I read a couple articles and I had reached out to you because I just think your story was so interesting. You went through a lot, and I just know for a young high school kid who has aspirations of playing at that next level, that sometimes news like that can be so tough that it does knock you off track, and you never get back on that track. And to see that you kind of went through that and faced that adversity, and here you are now playing at the school that you committed to before you had received your diagnosis. I think it's just really cool to see, and I appreciate you coming on here today and chatting with us.
Hey, I appreciate it as well. I had fun talking with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the best of luck to you. When's spring ball starting for you guys?
Think it starts the 23rd of of April. I know it starts that week, so
Yeah. And what's
can't
just like what's going through your mind right now? Like, I mean, it's a couple weeks away for you. It's been over a year plus of not being on the field. So talk about the opportunity of just getting back on there.
like I said, I can't wait. I just want to play. You know, it's all fun from here on out. So, I just want to get on the field.
Yeah,
Um, I've been working out, trying to find some time when there's some good weather out here in upstate New York. But nah, I feel good. I feel healthy. I just want to play at this point.
that's great. That's awesome to hear, man. Well, listen, like for real, like any like clips that you have from practice or that you guys tape or in game or whatever special teams, like feel free to send it to us. We post clips all over our Instagram and Twitter. So anything you want to throw at us, please do. We love to give you the shout out and love. And seriously, like your story's amazing. I'm really glad we were able to get you on here today. And the best of luck to you for real. I hope that you succeed and accomplish it is whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish over the next 4 years.
For sure, for sure. I'll send over those clips.
Yeah,
Appreciate you having me.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Showing love.
uh
Yeah,
yeah, man. Like I said, anytime, anything you want to send over, we're here. So from Beyond Podcast, I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis, guys. Until next time.